Alice, at 23, harbored a deep-seated resentment toward her younger sister Jane, aged 18. Often seen as the embodiment of malevolence by Alice, Jane had an uncanny ability to twist reality in her favor. This tale begins with a holiday debacle that unveiled the true nature of Jane's deceitful antics, forever altering their family dynamics. Alice and Jane's parents, driven by an overwhelming affection for Jane born out of a painful past tragedy, planned a family vacation that excluded Alice. The parents had always been partial, treating Jane as their beacon of hope after a distressing miscarriage. In their eyes, Jane could do no wrong, which only fueled Alice's feelings of isolation and injustice within her own family. From a young age, Alice watched as Jane's manipulations unfolded, yet her warnings fell on deaf ears. Their parents, blinded by their affection, dismissed Alice's concerns as sibling rivalry or mere misunderstandings. This pattern of ignorance had strained the family relationships, primarily because Alice felt sidelined in her own home. The real turning point came when Alice was omitted from the vacation plans under mysterious circumstances. It was during this time that Jane's darker traits came to the forefront. As the family prepared to depart, Alice discovered that her ticket had been suspiciously canceled. The evidence pointed to Jane, who wore a sly, triumphant smile that seemed to confirm her involvement. Frustrated and betrayed, Alice confronted her parents about Jane's sabotage, but they refused to entertain the idea of their precious daughter's involvement. Instead, they brushed off Alice's accusations, labeling them as baseless jealousy. This dismissal only deepened Alice's sense of isolation and injustice. Left alone at the airport while her family embarked on their vacation, Alice grappled with a mixture of emotions. She couldn't shake the feeling of being unwanted and unloved, despite her efforts to expose Jane's malicious behavior. As she returned to her home in San Francisco, she vowed to distance herself further from her toxic family dynamic. Meanwhile, Jane reveled in her victory, relishing the attention lavished upon her during the family vacation. Her devious grin betrayed the satisfaction she derived from manipulating her parents and sidelining Alice once again. But beneath her facade of innocence lay a darkness that threatened to consume them all. As Alice settled back into her routine, she found solace in her work and friendships, keeping Jane at arm's length. Yet she couldn't shake the nagging sense of betrayal and resentment that simmered within her. Little did she know this was only the beginning of a tumultuous journey that would force her family to confront their deepest fears and secrets head-on. Months passed, with Alice maintaining her distance from her family, finding solace in her independence and career. However, a sudden health scare shook the foundations of their strained relationship. When Alice's father suffered a near-fatal heart attack, she rushed back home to be by his side. The gravity of the situation forced Alice to put aside her grievances momentarily as she supported her family through this crisis. Despite the tension between them, Alice recognized the importance of familial bonds in times of adversity. Her father's recovery prompted him to suggest a family vacation, a gesture aimed at rekindling their fractured relationship. Despite her reservations, Alice reluctantly agreed, hoping for a chance to mend the rift between them. However, the trip took an unexpected turn when Alice's flight ticket was mysteriously canceled. Suspicions fell on Jane, whose manipulative tactics had become all too familiar. Yet despite Alice's protests, her parents refused to acknowledge Jane's involvement, further deepening the divide within the family. Left alone at the airport once again, Alice grappled with feelings of abandonment and betrayal. As she returned to her life in San Francisco, she couldn't shake the sense of injustice that gnawed at her, fueling her determination to expose Jane's true nature once and for all. Back in San Francisco, Alice wrestled with conflicting emotions. Anger, betrayal, and hurt warred within her as she tried to make sense of her family's dynamics. Despite her efforts to move on, the wounds inflicted by Jane's deceit ran deep, leaving Alice feeling adrift in her own life. Meanwhile, Jane reveled in her victory, basking in the attention lavished upon her by their parents. Her manipulative tactics had once again succeeded in alienating Alice and solidifying her position as the favored child. But beneath her facade of innocence, a darkness lurked, threatening to consume them all. As days turned into weeks, Alice found herself increasingly estranged from her family. Her attempts to reach out were met with indifference or outright hostility from Jane, who seemed intent on maintaining her grip on their parents' affection. Yet despite the pain and betrayal she endured, Alice couldn't shake the lingering sense of responsibility toward her family. Deep down, she still longed for their acceptance and love, even as she struggled to come to terms with the reality of their dysfunctional dynamic. As Alice grappled with her feelings, she began to realize that true healing could only come from within. She embarked on a journey of self-discovery, seeking to reclaim her sense of worth and identity outside of her family's expectations. Little did she know, this journey would lead her down a path of unexpected revelations and newfound strength, paving the way for a future where she could finally break free from the shadows of her past. Despite the turmoil brewing within her family, Alice remained focused on her own growth and healing. She threw herself into her work, finding solace in the familiar routine and sense of accomplishment it provided. With each passing day, she felt a glimmer of hope that perhaps one day she could find peace and acceptance, even if it meant forging her own path separate from her family. Meanwhile, tensions at home continued to escalate as Jane's manipulative behavior spiraled out of control. Alice's parents, once blind to her sister's true nature, began to witness firsthand the havoc she wreaked upon their lives. Yet old habits died hard, and they struggled to come to terms with the reality of their daughter's actions. As Alice watched from afar, she couldn't help but feel a sense of vindication mixed with sadness. While she had longed for her family to acknowledge the truth about Jane, she hadn't anticipated the toll it would take on them. Despite everything, they were still her parents, and she couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt for the role she played in their suffering. But as the days turned into weeks, Alice realized that she couldn't continue to bear the burden of her family's dysfunction alone. She reached out to a therapist, seeking guidance and support as she navigated the complex emotions surrounding her relationship with her family. With each session, she gained a deeper understanding of herself and the dynamics at play within her family. Armed with newfound clarity and resilience, Alice made the difficult decision to confront her parents about Jane's behavior. She poured her heart out to them, sharing her own experiences of Jane's manipulation and deceit. To her surprise, her parents listened with open hearts, finally beginning to see the truth that Alice had been trying to reveal for so long. As they grappled with the reality of their daughter's actions, Alice and her parents found themselves drawn closer together, united in their shared struggle to break free from the toxic patterns that had plagued their family for years. With each passing day, they grew stronger, forging a new path forward rooted in honesty, forgiveness, and love. With the truth about Jane's manipulations finally laid bare, Alice and her parents embarked on a journey of healing and reconciliation. They confronted Jane about her actions, demanding accountability for the pain she had caused. Although Jane initially resisted, her defenses crumbled in the face of overwhelming evidence. As the gravity of her actions sank in, Jane's facade of innocence shattered, revealing a deeply troubled soul crying out for help. It became evident that Jane's behavior stemmed from unresolved issues and deep-seated insecurities that had festered for years. Determined to help her sister find peace, Alice extended a hand of compassion, offering her support and understanding. Together with their parents, they sought out professional help, enlisting the aid of therapists and counselors to guide Jane on her journey toward healing. For Alice, the process was fraught with challenges as she grappled with conflicting emotions of anger, resentment, and compassion. Yet, through it all, she remained steadfast in her commitment to her family, determined to see them through the storm. As weeks turned into months, Jane began to show signs of progress, slowly but surely confronting her demons and taking steps toward a brighter future. Alice watched with a mixture of pride and relief as her sister embarked on a path of self-discovery, guided by the love and support of their family. With each passing day, the wounds of the past began to heal, replaced by a newfound sense of hope and optimism for the future. As they worked together to rebuild their fractured relationships, Alice and her family forged bonds that were stronger and more resilient than ever before. And though the road ahead would undoubtedly be challenging, they faced it with courage and determination, knowing that as long as they had each other, they could overcome any obstacle that stood in their way. As Jane made gradual improvements, Alice felt a complex blend of relief and ongoing skepticism. Her cautious optimism was tempered by memories of past deceits, making it difficult to fully trust the burgeoning changes in her sister. Despite these reservations, Alice committed to supporting Jane's recovery, recognizing that true change was a slow and often non-linear process. Meanwhile, Alice's parents, overwhelmed with guilt for their years of unintentional neglect towards Alice and excessive indulgence towards Jane, began to make amends. They sought to balance their attention and express their gratitude towards Alice for her resilience and forgiveness. Family therapy sessions became a routine part of their lives, facilitating difficult but necessary conversations that had been avoided for too long. During these sessions, Alice shared her feelings of exclusion and pain, which had accumulated over the years. Her vulnerability helped her parents see the depth of her suffering and sparked a deeper empathy within them. They started to understand how their actions, or lack thereof, had contributed to the family's dysfunction. This period of open communication fostered a healing environment not only for Alice and Jane, but also for their parents, who had struggled with their own feelings of failure. They learned to accept their imperfections as parents, and to embrace a future where they could do better. As summer approached, Alice proposed a family trip, not as a means to revisit old wounds, but as a celebration of their new beginnings. She hoped it would solidify the strengthening bonds between them. Her parents, touched by the gesture, agreed enthusiastically, seeing it as an opportunity to create new, joyful memories together, free from the shadows of past grievances. This trip, unlike the ones before, was marked by moments of genuine laughter and mutual understanding. Jane, who had often been the source of turmoil, participated with a humbler, more reflective attitude. It was clear to everyone that while the road to recovery was long and fraught with potential setbacks, there was a shared commitment to forge a healthier, more honest family dynamic. Alice found herself cautiously optimistic about the future. With each passing day, she felt a growing sense of peace, a peace that came from understanding that while the past could not be changed, the future was still theirs to shape. With this newfound hope, Alice looked forward to what the next chapters of their lives might hold, ready to face them together as a family. The family trip proved to be a pivotal moment for Alice and her family. It allowed them to step away from the routines and reminders of past conflicts, providing a fresh backdrop against which they could forge new connections and deepen existing ones. As they explored new places together, the physical journey mirrored their emotional one, moving them toward a place of mutual respect and understanding. Back home, the positive momentum continued. Jane, increasingly aware of the impact of her previous behavior, took proactive steps to mend her relationships. She began volunteering at a local community center, an activity that seemed to ground her and offer a sense of purpose. Watching Jane strive for personal growth, Alice felt a cautious pride in her sister's efforts, which helped soften the lingering edges of her guardedness. Alice herself experienced a transformative shift. Her role in helping her family navigate their crisis turned into a source of personal strength. She discovered a capacity for forgiveness and leadership she hadn't realized she possessed. This personal evolution was not lost on her parents, who expressed their pride and gratitude in ways they hadn't before, repairing years of emotional distance. During this time, the family established a new tradition of weekly dinners. These gatherings were marked not by the tension of the past, but by an eagerness to share experiences and support one another's endeavors. Conversations flowed more freely, filled with plans for the future and reflections on the lessons they had learned. One evening, as they sat around the dinner table, Alice's father suggested that the family consider organizing community events together. Inspired by Jane's volunteer work and Alice's newfound leadership skills, he believed that as a family they could contribute positively to their community. This idea was met with enthusiasm, symbolizing their desire to not only heal internally, but to extend their journey of growth outward. Alice saw these developments as a testament to the power of resilience and the possibility of redemption. She felt a renewed sense of connection to her family, appreciating the complex journey that had brought them to this hopeful juncture. For the first time in many years, Alice looked forward to the future with her family, feeling confident that they had built a foundation strong enough to withstand the challenges and celebrate the joys that lay ahead. As the seasons changed, so did the dynamics within AmITheA's dinners evolved into a cherished ritual that everyone looked forward to, becoming a cornerstone of their newfound unity. During these gatherings, the family would discuss everything from daily trivialities to more significant life decisions, weaving a tight-knit fabric of familial support that had once seemed unimaginable. Alice, seeing the tangible changes within her family, felt a profound sense of accomplishment and relief. She had become an integral part of her family's healing process, stepping into a role that was both mediator and motivator. Her ability to balance firm boundaries with compassionate support had become a key ingredient in maintaining the family's harmony. One evening, under the soft glow of the dining room lights, her father shared his vision of starting a community outreach program focused on mental health awareness. This idea stemmed from their own experiences and the realization of how crucial support and understanding were during times of personal turmoil. Alice and Jane eagerly supported the initiative, seeing it as a way to give back to the community while continuing their own healing journeys. The project started small, with the family organizing workshops and speaking events at local schools and community centers. Jane took a lead role in coordinating these events, finding a sense of purpose and self-worth that had eluded her for years. Her commitment to the cause was palpable, and it helped reshape her identity from that of a troublemaker to a proactive member of the community. Alice, meanwhile, found herself drawn to the stories of those they helped. Each persona URTMM story added layers to her understanding of human resilience and vulnerability. These interactions deepened her empathy and fueled her passion for advocacy, driving her to pursue a master's degree in counseling. As months turned into a year, the family AIDOWorkHereLady's community project gained traction. They partnered with local mental health professionals to provide resources and support, and their initiatives began to receive recognition from the wider community. This external validation was gratifying, but the internal satisfaction of making a tangible difference in people, EUR/TM's lives, was far more significant to Alice and her family. During this period, the family also learned to navigate the normal ups and downs that come with close relationships. There were disagreements and setbacks, but these were now handled with open communication and a willingness to understand each other EURTM's perspectives. Jane and Alice, once at odds, found a new way to relate to each other. They discovered shared interests in art and music, often attending concerts and exhibitions together, which helped cement their burgeoning sisterly bond. Alice EURTM's parents, witnessing the transformation of their daughters, felt a mixture of relief and wonder. They had feared that the rifts might be too deep to mend, but now they saw their family as a testament to the power of forgiveness and the resilience of love. They often shared their journey with other parents, offering hope and guidance to those facing similar challenges. One summer evening, as the family gathered in their backyard under a canopy of stars, they celebrated the second anniversary of their community project. The atmosphere was light and joyful, with friends, neighbors, and beneficiaries of their program mingling and sharing stories. Alice looked around at the faces, each lit by the soft lantern light, and felt a deep contentment. This gathering was not just a celebration of the Projecta EURTM's success, but a symbol of her family EURTM's journey from discord to harmony. It was a poignant reminder of how far they had come and a testament to the potential for change. Reflecting on the past, Alice felt a profound gratitude for the journey that had brought them to this point. She understood now more than ever that the path to healing was not linear, but woven with moments of doubt and triumph. Each step forward was a victory, each setback a lesson learned. As the night drew to a close, Alice and her family sat together, sharing laughs and planning for the future. They had plans to expand their outreach, perhaps even to other communities. The possibilities seemed endless, and for the first time in a long time, Alice felt an unshakable optimism about the future. She knew challenges would come, as they always do, but she also knew that their bonds, strengthened by trials and tempered by forgiveness, would hold fast. Together, they had turned a story of conflict into one of recovery and hope, not just for themselves, but for anyone who might one day walk a similar path. As the outreach program expanded, Alice found herself at the forefront of a movement that was touching more lives than she had ever imagined. The initiative that began as a small family project was now a beacon of hope for many, bringing awareness and change to the broader community. Alice's expertise and dedication were central to this evolution, and she embraced her role as both a leader and a constant learner from the stories she encountered. Meanwhile, Jane's transformation was equally remarkable. She had become a passionate advocate for mental health, channeling her energy and insights into helping others understand the complexities of psychological challenges. Her personal journey from turmoil to recovery provided a powerful narrative that resonated deeply with young people struggling with their own issues. This new purpose not only redefined her identity, but also repaired the fractures in her relationships with Alice and their parents. Their parents, too, had found a renewed sense of purpose. Freed from the burden of past mistakes, they were now fully engaged in the present, supporting the initiatives and providing a stable foundation for their daughters. They had become more reflective, often discussing the ways in which their own biases and unresolved issues had shaped their parenting. This introspection was sometimes painful, but always fruitful, leading to deeper understanding and better communication. The success of their project also brought new challenges. Demand for their services grew, and managing the expanding program required more sophisticated strategies and resources. Alice tackled these challenges head-on, drawing on her academic background and her growing network of professionals. She spearheaded partnerships with mental health organizations and secured funding through grants and donations, ensuring that the program could sustain its impact. Amidst these developments, the family also made time to strengthen their personal bonds. They established a tradition of traveling together once a year, exploring new places and experiencing different cultures. These trips were not only recreational, but also a time for reflection and bonding, away from the pressures of their work. Each destination brought new perspectives and fresh inspiration, which they brought back to their community work. On one such trip, while hiking through the scenic landscapes of a national park, Alice and her family had a chance to reflect on the incredible journey they had undertaken together. They talked about the early days of struggle, the painful confrontations, and the pivotal moments of forgiveness and understanding. It was during these conversations that they truly appreciated the depth of their growth, not just as individuals, but as a family unit. Back home, as Alice reviewed the progress of their initiatives, she proposed the idea of writing a book about their experiences. She envisioned it as a guide for other families navigating similar challenges, filled with practical advice, personal anecdotes, and insights from their work in mental health advocacy. The family embraced the idea enthusiastically, seeing it as a way to amplify their impact and connect with a wider audience. As they began to outline the chapters, each family member contributed their perspective, weaving a rich tapestry of experiences that highlighted both the universality and the uniqueness of their journey. Jane, with her flair for communication, took on the task of narrating their personal stories, while their parents provided the historical context and emotional insights. The process of writing the book was therapeutic, giving them a chance to revisit their past with the wisdom of hindsight and the clarity of resolution. It also brought them closer as they collaborated on a project that was not just about their family, but about offering hope and guidance to others. When the book was finally published, it was well received, resonating with readers who saw their own struggles reflected in the pages. The family held book signings and speaking engagements, sharing their story with a broader audience and inspiring others to embark on their own journeys of healing and understanding. Through all these experiences, Alice, Jane, and their parents realized that their greatest strength lay in their unity and their willingness to face challenges together. They had transformed their darkest moments into a source of light for themselves and for others, turning personal healing into public service. As they looked to the future, they knew that their journey was far from over. There would be more challenges, more learning, and more opportunities to make a difference. But they faced it all with the confidence of those who had traversed great distances and knew that no obstacle was insurmountable with love and perseverance. In this spirit, they continued forward, committed to each other and to the well-being of their community, their hearts full of hope and their minds open to the endless possibilities that awaited them.